Sometimes I get asked whether or not the label of autism bothers me, or we're being different, or being viewed as different. And the truth is that I think everybody's different. Everybody has a unique mind and a unique brain. And yet, autism is a label that does mean something. People can say, oh, well, everybody's a little autistic. And it's like, well, okay, in one sense that's true, in the sense of like saying, well, everybody's tall sometimes. If you're in any given group, yeah, you might be tall. But if you're, 6'10", you're going to be pretty much tall all the time. And you're going to have to worry about hitting your head on stuff and buying weird clothing and, all that kind of thing. And so being autistic as a label, I think it's a powerful thing to be able to say, okay, I am different, but I'm different, and that there's nothing wrong with being different. Life is so much more than our differences, but yet we can't ignore our differences, and we need to find in our differences often our strengths and our uniqueness and the things that are going to help us to succeed. So if people are viewing the label of autism as a difference, as long as they're viewing it as a positive difference, it doesn't bother me. And likewise, throughout this video, I've used language like person with autism rather than autistic person, or person on the spectrum. And I know certain audiences, it's offensive, and it's very important what language you use, and I'm sorry if I've offended anybody. It's not my intention. To me, all of these difference labels are only useful in so much as they give us the tools that we need to be able to function in our lives, understand ourselves, understand the world around us, and understand how best to relate to each other. For myself, when I went to get an autism diagnosis, I was an adult. And so as an adult, I already, had lived a lot of my life, done a lot of things, had a lot of great experiences, bad experiences, successes, and failures. And I honestly, at first, wasn't even sure I wanted to go get that label. And yet, what I would say to everyone out there who is considering getting the diagnosis or who has the diagnosis is, it's not something to run from. The label of autism is something to embrace. And warts and all, to say, yeah, okay, so I have these challenges. It's going to be difficult for me to deal with people, to communicate with people, and to use the right verbal and nonverbal communication. Difficult for me to deal with change. Difficult for me to be able to deal with certain sensory situations. But I'm also going to have all kinds of strengths that I can apply in all kinds of situations. And this is a difference that is going to empower me to anticipate, when am I going to have a hard time in life, and when am I just going to crush it? When is it going to be a great strength for me? And if I can embrace this label of autism and accept autism as, yeah, I'm autistic, now all of a sudden I can go make sense of my life in a way that I couldn't before and plan ahead. It's almost like before I had that label, it was, I knew I was weird, I knew I was different, I knew there was something a little off with me. I knew that deep down I was kind of pretending sometimes to fit in with my surroundings, but that if anybody really knew who I was, they would totally reject me. And yet, knowing that I have autism, that there's a name for what I have, all of a sudden my life made so much more sense. I was able to forgive myself, love myself, accept myself in a way I hadn't before. And it was like all of a sudden, instead of this great big wild storm, I had an anchor I could rely on, an anchor that would hold me fast and give me ground to walk on, so that I could now move on with my life and anticipate, okay, so I have autism, so I'm going to need to work here on this, I'm going to need to work here on this, I'm going to need a system for that. But also I should really embrace my special interests here, here, and here, and my strengths I have here. And eventually, as you get to that point, you look back, and every person I've met who's autistic looks back and says, well, I'm glad I have autism. I wouldn't trade that for the world. And when you can get to that point, it's not even a question anymore. You're grateful for the label.